What do you do when you have a prodigal child that continues to stray and do their own thing, and it just seems like they're digging a deeper and deeper hole for themselves?
Great question. So I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but if I were to ask how many of you all drifted away from the Lord at one time or another, many hands would go up. That'd be me. I unfortunately lived that way for a while. If I were to ask you how many of you have brothers or sisters, or perhaps your parents or your children, perhaps your children are old enough to now start to decide if they want to walk with the Lord or not and have drifted away. It happens. It happens because the enemy comes in and he puts a flesh focus in our mind and takes away a faith focus from our mind. In other words, he gets us interested in stuff that are of this realm and only of this realm, and causes us to be disinterested in the things of the realm to come, the realm of faith. So it happened in the Bible, and here's a good example and a good answer for your question in Luke chapter 15. So every question we'll ask, and then we'll have scripture, and then we'll have a takeaway that you can grab hold of, that a little phrase that might help you. So Luke chapter 15. The young man became so hungry, this is the prodigal, that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses. And I love this phrase. So the question was how to pray, right? How do I pray for a prodigal child or for one who is strayed away? Well, I'd give you two prayers. The first prayer is make them desperate. Lord, touch their life and make them desperate. And the second prayer is Lord, would you bring them to their senses? Would you bring them to their spiritual senses? Would you bring them to real reality? Would you cause them to recognize that what they're into now is not eternal, that what they're into now is not from you? Lord, would you touch them and help them recognize that they need to live for you? So pray that they come to their senses. It's an awesome thing to see how it happened with the prodigal son. So you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the things that parents do that they shouldn't do is that we try to rescue our kids. And rescuing your children is never a good thing. Sometimes they really do need to suffer the consequences of their actions. So much so that, we've had friends that have had a child that went through difficulties and ended up in jail. And it broke their hearts. And then when he called and said, hey, I'm in jail, I need you to come bail me out, they said, we're not going to bail you out. And that's really hard for a parent to say that to their child. But our children need to learn that. And, we need to teach the children the consequences of their actions, because we're all going to give an account for our actions eventually. So help your child by not helping them all the time, not rescuing them from everything, so that they can learn that they're responsible for their actions, and so that they can seek the Lord as their rescuer instead of you as a rescuer.
Yeah, my dad told me one time, he said, Bucko, that was his word that meant, you're in trouble, shut up, pay attention, don't you dare interrupt me. Bucko, if you end up in jail, I'm not bailing you out. You're on your own. And that was kind of like, wow, kind of a shock. So here's the takeaway. The best thing that can happen to some people is a wake-up call. Now, that might seem harsh, but really, that's really loving. That is full of love, because there are some that's what needs to happen. They need to receive the angels sent from heaven to minister to them, and angels minister to people even when we're away from the Lord. They need to receive that prompt, that moment when they're touched and reality hits their heart and they wake up. And that's a good thing to pray for. Lord, would you allow a wake-up call to touch my husband, touch my child, touch my parent, whoever it is, would you allow that to happen? And that's really a loving, good thing.